Hi everyone, Babula and I are back for another lunar cycle. Going to talk about the full moon in Pisces and a whole lot of other things that are going to happen in September 2020. So, wow, Babula, I mean, every time we do this, I say there can't be more.
I know.
But why don't you kick us off with what we're experiencing right now, actually?
Well, on the 2nd, and of course, you know, we're recording this the day before, so on the 2nd, of course, is the full moon. And it was interesting, Sheryl, when you used the word lunar cycle, my mind immediately went to the word lunatic. Because, you know, we speak of the word lunatic actually comes from Luna, the moon. And it's interesting that, you know, I'm starting off with that because full moon time has a reputation, and it's actually very real as we come into the full moon now on the 2nd in Pisces and Virgo. And I think it really is appropriate for a full moon in Pisces that all of nature and our human bodies and psyche and cells and all the chemicals and, you know, everything in our bodies and the hormones and everything all are like switched on. You know, everything is switched on. Nature is full, everything's blooming, you know, the sap is rising in the trees, the tides are big, the fish are all, you know, feeding, and animals are I mean, it's just big energy. Everything is heightened at a full moon. And so the word lunatic, and so our emotions can become really heightened every month, every lunar cycle when the moon, around those few days of the full moon. And it's very well known, it's not just hearsay or legend, it's actually true that you know, emergency services departments and hospitals and police stations and so on, they actually do. You've only got to speak to people who work in those areas. For many years, they just make sure they've got plenty of staff on because people can get just more emotional, everything gets more heightened, and we may not always behave in ways that are, I was going to use the word sensible, you know, but because we just tend to become more passionate because everything is up, you know, everything's switched on. And in the sign of Pisces, which is a very emotional sign, the more negative expressions of it can be during a full moon is, you know, people just want to drink more, they might be more inclined to want to just zone out on their favorite, you know, addiction and so on. But when the moon is full in the sign of Pisces, as the sun this month is going through Virgo, so full moon, sun and moon are opposite each other, it can also be a time when our emotions are really heightened, our sensitivity is heightened. People might find for a couple of days they're just feeling really tired, which is interesting because often on a full moon our energy is really high. And it can be, but in Pisces, we often just feel overwhelmed and like just wiped out because everything just feels just so big. And if you go outside under a full moon, you know, in the middle of the night, if it's a clear sky, everything feels so light. So there's that energy of light. And the spiritual teachers for thousands of years have spoken along the lines of, you know, if you sit and meditate on a new moon when the moon's dark, we tend to go in really easily, like the energy's pulling us in and we can go into a very deep place. When we meditate on a full moon, whoa, you know, energy's moving and rising up. So people can go into some quite, you know, big sort of spiritual energies and experiences and feel quite blissful even. So they're very different energies. And in Pisces, we do often associate this sign with, you know, spiritual experiences and spiritual inclinations. You know, so meditation and prayer or just quietening down and listening to beautiful music, I would really recommend if people are able, according to their circumstances, you know, put aside some time to, in the evening, go and sit outside, or, you know, light a candle, just lie down and take some time out and listen to music that you know makes you feel really good. That's very Pisces thing to do.
Yeah, I know a few Pisces, and they're a little bit dreamy, a little and imaginative and artistic, and they love music.
Yes, yes.
That sort of thing. And I'm just, it's a female sign, isn't it, Pisces?
Very much. It's a very yin sign. It's a sign of the waters, of the oceans and the seas, you know, and the fish and whales and dolphins, and that sort of you know, and spiritually, the ocean is often spoken of in terms of oceanic consciousness. It's in that sign that we have a sense of the oneness of all of life. Whereas in Virgo, every time we're talking about a full moon, we've got to look at the polarity of the two signs. So the sun's in Virgo opposite the moon in Pisces. That's what makes the moon so full. And so Virgo is the earth, you know, and the plants and the animals and nature. And it's an earth sign. But Virgo is also our thinking, analytical mind that wants to analyze and sort and organize. So while we're going through the month of Virgo, as the sun makes its way through Virgo, it's still got a couple of weeks to go, this can be a good time in general for people to be, like, it can get very mundane, but like use the energy to clean out your cupboards, you know, sort out your files, clean up your technology. You know, Virgo, clean, sort, organize, sift, you know, pull things apart, get rid of stuff. You know, that's very Virgo, and it's got a lot to do with being practical and efficient. And if we marry that to the polar opposite of Pisces, we can be efficient but also be relaxed about it. You know, while you're doing it, put on some beautiful music and enjoy yourself. You know, that kind of thing. Or go out into nature, into your garden if you're growing plants or herbs or anything, or just go for a walk in nature. Feel the earth and the beauty of nature, which is Virgo. But tune into it also in a Piscean way. And these two signs connect us to the sacredness of the ordinary and the mundane and the day-to-day. So that's how they can work so beautifully together. And people who have these two signs, you know, quite active in their chart might understand that really well, you know, the sense of the sacred in the mundane and the day-to-day.
With the moon in Pisces too, that's because that heightens like sensitivity. That's an empathic sign then?
Very much, very, very, very empathic. And it's one of the challenges for people who are either Sun in Pisces or have a lot of Pisces energy in their charts and in themselves. They can struggle with that and suffer from like just feeling like they just feel too much and they feel everything. And so if you're an empath, that can all get very overwhelming. So, you know, there's ways to, and the beautiful thing is like understanding signs that are in polar opposites. If we understand the opposite sign, it can help to us to, if you like, manage some of the challenges of one sign. So if someone's very Piscean and they often feel just overwhelmed and like, oh my God, I'm just feeling everything and I'm feeling everybody's suffering and all of that, use some Virgo discrimination. Because Pisces doesn't discriminate, just feels everything.
Yeah. It'd be important for them, sorry, I was going to say it'd be important for them to take a bit of time out just to be with themselves.
Absolutely, to rest, to just tune in, to just do what you need to do for you. But Virgo helps us just to discriminate and go, you know what, that's not good for me, I'm not doing that. You know, to use our analytical thinking mind to sort through, you know, yes to that, no to that.
Yeah, or maybe those feelings aren't mine, they're someone else's that I'm picking up on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's often why Pisceans often very commonly need time to themselves. Because that's the only way they can discharge a lot of that energy they've picked up and sort of absorbed. It's almost like they're psychic sponges.
Yeah.
They're not doing it, it just happens. And knowing that can be so helpful. So, you know, discover what you know works for you to discharge and release some of that, you know, energy that you've just picked up. And, you know, goodness me, the world's going through a lot of distress and difficulty at the moment. So if you're naturally an empathetic person and very sensitive by nature, it's a beautiful thing. It's truly a gift, and it can be very challenging as well. So you need to understand how to work with that and not let it be too overwhelming, you know, or it causes suffering, actually.
Yeah. I guess finding your own, or tuning into your own path and walking to the beat of your own drum rather than getting caught up to the majority's drum beat.
Exactly. Exactly. Tuning in. And the other thing I'd say about these two signs that's important is that they're both signs that have a great deal to do with healing. You know, Virgo is a sign of medicine and illness and healing and medicinal plants and food as medicine and, you know, primarily natural medicine, but it's not exclusively that. I know many, throughout my life, I have met, through my work and personally, many nurses, and they're all Virgo suns, Virgo moons, Virgo rising. I know lots of acupuncturists, massage therapists, you know, dietitians, always Virgo in their chart. So all avenues, you know, of healing and medicine. In Pisces, there is a natural healing energy there, but it's intuitive, and you could call it even spiritual. Like they're working with energy, subtle energies, highly intuitive. And if those two signs are strong for somebody, both, they can be really incredibly effective and sensitive and tuned in healers, you know, and medical practitioners. And so, you know, you get the compassion that comes through Pisces, but also the tremendous knowledge that comes through Virgo. I've actually known Virgos who nurses or doctors and said their favorite subject when they were studying was anatomy. Now, how literally they loved it. How Virgo is that?
Yeah.
You know, so Virgo, it's amazing. But, you know, it's that love of like, oh, wow, look at all these little bones and how they all work together. And, you know, because it just made complete sense. Whereas others struggle with that, but not to them.
Yeah. So what else is happening besides the full moon in Pisces?
So, also on the 2nd, on the same day as the full moon, the planet Venus is coming to the end of Cancer, and she will make an opposition to the planet Saturn, which is in retrograde, as we know, in the sign of Capricorn. So here you've got the Cancer-Capricorn polarity, those two signs opposite each other. So, you know, for a couple of days, and it's exact on the 2nd as Venus is opposite Saturn, that can bring up challenges for people around finances. They might be having to make some tough decisions about finances. And I know, given the circumstances of 2020, for some, that can be a very challenging reality. You know, well, what am I actually going to do? Or you might just, you know, we might find ourselves thinking about it a lot more. Like it's, you know those times when you kind of wake up in the middle of the night and your mind has instantly gone to your finances, and then you may not get back to sleep for 3 hours, because if your mind gets hold of that, all the worry that you've maybe sort of put aside a bit during the day, at night, it all comes up. So, you know, having to sort of make some choices, make some decisions, perhaps do without certain things or get them sorted. It's even just for a couple of days, but that Venus-Saturn opposition can be felt quite strongly by people. So that's happening kind of around the full moon, on the full moon for those couple of days.
Well, that might explain why I've seen on various news items that women standing up against restrictions. And I've seen them also women demonstrating in, I can't remember which country, but it was in Africa, and women demonstrating in another country in Europe, which I've forgotten now, and in the US. And,
yes.
and women speaking out about things, about all types of things. Yeah.
Yes, that's absolutely true. I'm seeing the same thing. And Venus is the feminine in women.
Yeah.
And, you know, Saturn in Capricorn, especially retrograde, is that, you know, energy of restriction and oppression. Yeah. So yes, it's it's a big time. And then on the 4th, just 2 days later, as Venus continues in those last few degrees of Cancer. And of course, one of the things, you know, we can say so many things about every sign, but one of the things that Cancer's about is our sense of emotional comfort and safety. You know, and so we've got Venus opposite Saturn on the 2nd, and on the 4th, we've got Venus conjunct Hygeia, the goddess of medicine, and square Mars. And Mars is very strong and active and important now, and this for the next couple of months. So again, there's this sense of, you know, our personal world, Venus in Cancer, is under a lot of pressure and constraint and challenges, and that includes personal relationships, you know, and particularly when Venus squares Mars over this next week, it can have quite a strong impact on relationships. You know, it's like this sort of tug of war between the masculine and feminine principle. It can be a bit like, you know, one's holding this position and one's holding that position, and they're, you know, battling it out a little bit. So and then on the 6th, Venus leaves Cancer, goes into Leo. So that brings a real shift of energy. You know, Venus in Cancer would be very, you know, in these last 4 weeks while she's been going through Cancer, very much focused on our personal world, you know, our home life, our family, our personal comfort zones, you could say. When she goes into Leo, a fire sign, Leo is so much more about, you know, passion and expression and creativity, and play and enjoyment. So, you know, get the paints out, you know, as a metaphor, you know, what wants to be expressed and what wants to be heard. You know, Leo is the lion. And to me, Leo really comes to life. It's that beautiful metaphor of the lion throwing his head back and opening his throat and roaring, you know, the king of the jungle. And so when Venus, the principle of love and the feminine, like this is the lioness heart, you could say, you know, the heart of the lion expressed through the feminine principle of Venus. So maybe we're going to see more women standing up and roaring, you know, like literally roaring and expressing with great passion. And you know, Leo is also about, you know, leadership and stepping forward and being seen. And so in Leo, we can often, like psychologically, there can be issues around, oh, I don't want to be seen. Like in Cancer, we're not so keen to be seen. We want to, you know, call it Duna therapy, you know, like sort of close the door and on the world and not come out. But in Leo, no, this is ruled by the sun, and the sun has to shine. So for many, this can be a beautiful time from the 6th for about 4 weeks as Venus makes its way through Leo. And when I work with people's charts, when I see Venus is in Leo, if they were born with this, they are usually highly creative people. You know, very creative, passionate, even if they, you know, walk in the door, you can just see by the way they dress. You know, the love of color, and it's a bit flamboyant. And so that's an opportunity for us to really get our Leo on.
Mine's been hiding.
It's been hiding. Some will need no encouragement. They'll be like, yes. And for others, it might be, well, you know, come on, let's look. It can even be as simple as, you know what, I want to wear the red skirt today. It's been sitting in your cupboard and you haven't worn it for ages, you know. See, just amazing how something like that can make a difference to how you feel.
Yeah.
On the same date, Mercury also changes sign and goes into Libra. So that shift of Mercury, which is very much about our voice, how we speak, how we think, what we're thinking about, and what we want to speak and what we want to perhaps learn, or how we want to communicate, or what's going on with our communications. The sign of Libra, of course, is about balance and harmony. Fundamentally, that's what it's about.
And smooth waters, yes, definitely.
Yes. And so this will be an opportunity for people for about 3 to 4 weeks as Mercury goes through Libra, to find more harmonious, balanced ways of communicating and expressing points of view. But I will say Libra is also about the polarity of, and people can get into, camps very, very, I mean, that's happening. It's almost like what's going on in the world is almost, I don't know if forcing is too strong a word, but it's almost forcing people to choose their camp.
Yeah.
It's kind of getting harder to hold a middle ground because it's, because of what's happening, and people are taking, well, I'm on this side or I'm on that side, and Libra's got a lot to do with that.
Yeah, I don't know if I understand what you're saying, and I agree to a point. For me, it's been more about showing their colours.
Yes.
And that therefore puts them in a camp.
Yeah, that's very interesting. It's more that it's all being exposed, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
That's a really good point.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
revealing. Yeah.
But still, like if you know anybody with Mercury in Libra, the way they communicate is, again, you've always got to look at the whole chart. So I'm just speaking about this. I'm doing a Virgo thing by just pulling out one thing.
Yeah.
So Mercury and Libra people in general will communicate in ways that are considerate, polite, reasonable,
diplomatic.
They will listen, go, well, what do you think about that? I'm kind of interested, and go, oh, okay, I thought of it like that. And so then a conversation can take place, ideally, and because Libra's all about beauty and harmony and balance. It's also about justice and the law. So I suspect we're going to find some interesting communications in the public arena around legal matters, which I'm already noticing, but I think we're going to see a lot more of that as Mercury goes into the sign of Libra. And of course, Libra as a sign, its polar opposite sign is Aries. So, Aries, Mars is about, battle and stepping up to the fray and standing your ground and so on. And Libra is actually the sign of peace and harmony. And I often think of somebody like Mahatma Gandhi, who was a Libran, but a powerful man. And he was a lawyer, Libra. And he said from the outset, yes, we will end British rule in India, but we will not take up arms, and there will be no bloodshed. That is the Libran way. And he did it.
Yeah, yeah.
He did it. Now, after he died, all hell broke loose. But from him, he was going to use the law and things like civil disobedience and just the power of the people. And that's a Libran approach, and to you, because he knew the law, he understood it.
Yeah, and we're already seeing
yes, we are,
the legality of, or the question of legality about the mandates that are being put out.
Exactly.
By people in growing numbers now.
Exactly.
And so that's...
And lawyers are joining, are really stepping up and setting things in place to challenge this from the law. Yeah,
and class action suits, things like that I'm seeing, yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. So this is really interesting. And of course, while Mercury goes through Libra for 3 to 4 weeks, it's going to make some squares then to Jupiter, Pluto and Saturn in the second half of September to those planets in Capricorn. and then makes a square to Mars as well. So you've got this whole thing going on in 3 of the 4 cardinal signs of Libra, Aries, and Capricorn.
So what would you expect with that then on the world stage?
Right, we're going to see, so I hesitate to use these words, but they're the words that came up. It's like battle lines being drawn, you know. I don't want to spook people, but we've got to be realistic about what's going on the planet. And so we are, you know, with Mars in Aries now for the rest of the year and making these very potent squares and about to go retrograde, we're in a very intense time. And it's just necessary. This is required, you know, for the world, for humanity. This is how it is. These are how the planets are moving. There's no getting around that. This is what's happening. And this time was always going to come.
Yeah, and that's how
here we are.
That's how change happens.
That's how change happens.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. So the cardinal signs, Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn, and there's one of each element, they form like a cardinal cross across the zodiac. But these 4 cardinal signs are signs of action, initiation, how we move forward into the new. You know, and each of those 4 signs will do it according to the nature of their element of earth, air, fire, or water. And so they're very, these signs have an energy that's very motivated. You know, there's a drive here. There's a motivation to make things happen, to get things moving, you know, to activate. So these are not, like the fixed signs are more about, you know, standing your ground and holding. And the 4 mutable signs are about the dispersal of energy and everything moving.
Yeah.
Moving and changing. But in the cardinal energies, we go, okay, let's go. But that kind of quality, according to the 4 different elements. So it's interesting with, you know, given that we've got these energies in Aries doing these squares to the planets in Capricorn this year, that's an important theme for the year. Now, as Mercury comes into Libra, it's going to be one of the activated as well. And Mercury is the messenger.
Oh, yeah.
You know, in terms of the gods, Mercury, Hermes, is the messenger of the gods. So he's, if we speak about it in that sense, he's a divine being. Very interesting fellow, Mercury, for many reasons. He was the one god who had access to all realms. Mount Olympus, like the sky energies, Earth, and the underworld. He could go down into the underworlds, and he was a trickster. And all the images, and there were statues and paintings and images and so on of Mercury, Hermes all over the classical world, and they're easy to see online. And he's always this sort of slender youth with wings on his feet. And he has a helmet with wings. So, you know, our mind moves fast. It's our mind, thinking mind. But he is the messenger. So wherever Mercury is at any given time, that is the style that through which we're going to be giving messages, communicating, receiving messages through the media, through public arenas, in our personal dynamics with people. So in Libra, the messages hopefully will be balanced. But when we consider that, you know, it's making oppositions to the Aries planets and squares to everything that's going on in Capricorn, I really do feel that legal issues are going to play a big part in the next few weeks. I really do. Then we come to our mate Mars. So on the 10th, and I will have mentioned this before, but there may be people watching who haven't seen the previous ones, but it's really relevant now in September. So on the 10th of September, Mars is actually what we call stationary and begins to turn retrograde. So the planet is moving forward. And what happens for Mars, and each of them do this but have their own timing, for about 2 or so weeks before he actually turns retrograde, or even a little bit more, like even 3 or 4 weeks, He actually slows right down. Normally he moves 1 degree every 2 days when he's at normal speed. So he slows right down, and is actually, as he gets close to the retrograde, he's actually spending about a week just at 1 degree and then about 10 days, and he's just sitting there. So right now he's kind of not really going anywhere. We're in that period now where he's slowed right down and is just inching forward a tiny little bit, and then he literally comes to a standstill and goes, okay, now we go back again. And it's slow and it's slow, and then he gathers up speed, and for 10 weeks, then he picks up a bit of speed, never to full speed, and then slows down again, and in about mid-November, stops, stationary, and comes forward. We call it direct, and slowly picks up speed, and away he goes. And he doesn't leave Aries until January next year. And because he's in his own sign, he's powerful now. Like he's like, Mars is like, yeah, this is my place. This is my territory. I can be fully who I am here. But the retrograde period for 10 or so weeks will be quite challenging, particularly given that he's making all these squares to Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto and Capricorn. So I have to use this word because this is how it is. It is a battle. There is a battle going on. We've only got to look at our own lives within our own selves, you know, to what degree perhaps are we battling with something in ourselves or in our life or in our personal world? We're certainly seeing it around us. You know, I mean, look at all of the huge numbers of people getting out in the streets in Europe, especially, because they have been through wars. They know exactly what's going on, you know. And so this is a battleground, and it's not a battle of guns and cannon. What else can I say about Mars? Well, even now, while it's just slowed right down, you see, Mars is a planet of action. You know, Mars is that energy in all of us that says, yeah, let's do this and we'll do that, especially when it's in Aries. It's full of action and get up and go. And it can activate fire in us, you know, because Mars is a fiery energy, and Aries is just fire. You know, the color of Aries is red and the color of Mars is red. So that gives you a good indication. So we can get the blood moving.
Yeah.
It stirs up anger, conflict, battle lines, and so on. And now, while it's really slowing down, there are many ways we can experience that. It can literally just feel like I seem to be getting nowhere. It can feel like I'm getting nowhere. Or, I mean, it's been such a strange year, and nothing, like any calendars you might have drawn up or plans you might have drawn up for 2020 are long gone out the window. So the whole year's like that. But, you know, so Mars can feel tremendously frustrated when it can't just get on with it.
Yeah.
And when it turns retrograde and goes back and makes these squares to these planets in Capricorn, it can feel very frustrated and very thwarted, because that Capricorn energy represents the oppressive forces of control. It doesn't only represent that, but I'm speaking in the light of what's happening in the world primarily. I'm speaking to that. So, you know, government, corporate, all the systems and banking systems, all the structures, the way our world is structured, you know. It's also the structures in our own life. How is our own life set up and structured and organized? And so Mars is challenging that, you know, the warrior energy, you know, he's got his warrior gear on and he's challenging that. And that's being represented by many people who are standing up to that Capricorn power and saying no, you know, and that's what's going on. And that's really frightening for many people. I understand that. But I feel that every single human on this planet is being called forth to look really closely at where they are and what's going on, and maybe what they need to do? You know, what needs to change? Like, and it can be very confronting. It can be very, very confronting time, you know. But I'm someone, through my life experience and understanding and so on, who I truly do believe the truth will set us free. And no matter how hard sometimes truth is, it's the only way.
Yeah.
You know, we have to stare it in the face and go, oh. And but it does set us free, you know, it really does. So it is really powerful. It's a very strong time. It's not going to be comfortable. We can feel very, you know, so many people are saying things like, oh God, can I just have my old life back? No, I don't think so. We are not going back.
No. And that's interesting, because I was looking at some old photos the other day when I was with a large group of people, and I was thinking, these are photos that we may show our children or grandchildren in the future, that we don't know this, but maybe we might look back and say, well, that's how life was. Or maybe we'll tell the story, oh, once we went to Melbourne. Oh, you didn't go to Melbourne, did you? When the pandemic was around, you know.
I know. I mean, this is a year that will never be forgotten.
No.
This year will never be forgotten in the annals of history. It just will not. Like, this is a pivotal turning point this year, and it's a critical time. And you know, from January, when those planets came together in January, it was like life said, okay, here we go, this is it. Like, literally, you know, the cosmos said, okay, Earth, you ready? Earthlings, humanity, you ready? You're on. You know? And here we go. And so the second half of the year, there's a big focus now on this Mars energy, because Mars, the warrior, and I'm now speaking about the warrior inside each and every one of us. And is he a warrior of the light, or is he just a brute thug? You know? It's like there's all these kind of levels of consciousness around these expressions of the planets and how they operate. So, you know, we can go as far as, like, speaking of being like Archangel Michael, who's, for those of you who might be open to the idea of the angelic realm, he's the one with the sword, you know, like, we're doing this. And so the battle can be operating on many different dimensions, including the spiritual realms and the cosmic realms. This is so much more, I feel, than just what's going on in my life, my little life. You know, it's so much more. So there's a whole lot that's going on here. So I think that Mars in Aries is about each and every one of us really finding and staring our own fear in the face. You know, it's not easy or comfortable. I know this year I keep crossing boundaries of my own fear and just pushing it forward a bit further and going, taking a big gulp and going, okay, I'm going to do this. Because I just feel so much is at stake, you know. So we're finding, and I think this is an important part of the retrograde, facing our old fear about standing up and being counted and what might happen if we do. And I think I've only just seen that as I've been speaking it, to really see, I would never have done that in the past. I would have been too frightened. But now this is so important, I must.
Yeah, I think people are driven to do that.
Yes, I'm noticing it in me. Like, I'm coming forward in ways that I would not have before. You know, and I just feel like so much is at stake. We cannot just sit back and do nothing.
And everyone else is feeling like that too.
That's not an option anymore. We can't leave it up to other people. This is about every single one of us. You know, it's about the whole of humanity.
And I think that, you know, we have seen so much thuggery and brutality. That's the problem. And, you know, that's what gets people's ire up and makes them take action. And then they look around and go, okay, what else am I seeing that I don't like? You know, they're in the wrong.
Exactly. And I will say a lot of that brutality and thuggery has been coming from governmental levels and so on, and all the things that are behind that as well. I mean,
Yep.
as more veils are removed and more is revealed, I mean, I was pretty aware of a lot that was going on in the world, and I was aware of corruption at many levels for a long time. Boy, have I gotten an education in 2020.
Yeah.
You know, and it just keeps coming, and I'm just going, I'm at a point now where I'd believe just about anything. Like, it's just one thing after another. But go, okay, this is really important to know this, to see this, to face it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think through all of that, people have lost trust, and
Yeah.
but not only trust in what we're told by authorities, but trust in even alternative information. I had a conversation with a group on Sunday, and after it, I thought, well, people were telling me different things, and I thought, well, how do you know that? How, you know, where's the, how do you get those facts? Some people are starting to become so conspiracy minded that they're not even fact checking that, you know. So there's a lot going on.
There absolutely is. There absolutely is, and it's a minefield out there in terms of information, because there are, you know, figures and numbers being thrown around all over the place. So we have to do a lot of, you know, just a lot of questioning about everything, about so much. You know, that again, I've mentioned this before, that wonderful Byron Katie question. You know, is that really true? How do I know for absolutely certain that that's true?
Yeah.
Now, I also do believe very strongly in intuition. Sometimes there is a knowing. There is just a knowing that is beyond factual evidence, you know. But that's a tricky one, you know, and you have to have a lot of experience and trust in your own knowing over, you know, time, I think, to go, like, I'm not just having a knee-jerk emotional reaction here, like, this is a knowing inside of me.
Yeah.
And, but to also be aware of, like, getting your information sourced from many different directions and not single.
Yeah. And I think that Mercury Virgo thing, I think that's really important to come into play, because, you know, we have to think about, you know, we do have to be very discerning about what we're taking into our minds, because
Yes.
I've seen people go a bit nuts with everything.
Yeah, that's right. That's
I can
right.
say it that way, but that's actually what's happened. You know, this
that's right.
Yeah.
No, so there's all sorts of extremes going on, and I do understand that. And I'm not suggesting everyone just walk straight down the middle. I don't think that's realistic either. I think, you know, it's perfectly right and reasonable that we lean in a certain direction, but, you know, nothing's really straightforward. Nothing's black and white. Like, it isn't. So the next piece, and we'll be talking about Mars, I think,
for a
a
while
lot more in the weeks and couple of months to come. So on the 13th, and this is cool because Jupiter goes direct. So Jupiter has been in retrograde motion for about 4.5 months. Now, that's normal. Every year, Jupiter will be retrograde for around 4.5, possibly up to 5 months every year. And the 3 Capricorn planets, Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto, have all been retrograde for a few months now. So Jupiter will turn direct. So that is one of those 3 energies where there's going to be a sense of, that feels better. And on the 29th of September, Saturn will turn direct. So, and then I didn't check, but it's probably the following month, Pluto. So when those 3 planets in Capricorn are all in direct forward motion and moving at proper normal speed, that is going to release a lot of energy. You know, when we were in the retrograde phase, there's a lot of deep processing being done. There's a lot going on. A lot of it's behind the scenes. You got to dig to find it, you know, that kind of thing. And it's a period of, you know, really questioning and re-examining and re-evaluating so many things.
And it's heavy too. It's been heavy.
Very heavy. Absolutely. I mean, Capricorn is no lightweight energy.
No.
You know, and Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto are no lightweights either.
So when Jupiter goes direct, though, does it get closer to Pluto?
Yes, it's going to make the third conjunction with Pluto. So Jupiter's had 3 conjunctions with Pluto this year.
Uh-oh. So what happens then? Oh, no. I can guess. Don't tell me.
Yes, but one of the things to remember about Jupiter is fundamentally a positive energy, known by the ancients as a benefic, meaning, you know, and it's the principle of expansion and growth and optimism. Real Sagittarius, for goodness sake. I mean, Sagittarius are the most optimistic people, you know, and lovers of truth.
Mm.
And so Jupiter's another guy that's got quite a lot to do with the law. If you think about Jupiter's Zeus,
Yeah.
God Jupiter's Zeus, you know, the king god of Mount Olympus, he was the lawmaker. He didn't always obey his own rules, but, you know, it was like, I make all the laws, but I do what I like, sort of thing. And we see that in the political arena all the time, especially now. So I feel that as Jupiter goes direct over these coming months through and finishes its journey through Capricorn and will leave Capricorn in December, hallelujah, I feel like there's going to be a lot of sort of a new momentum going forward. And then at the end of the month, Saturn will, and that is going to feel good, believe me, when Saturn turns direct again, still in Capricorn, that will feel like, I can feel it as I'm saying it. It's like Saturn retrograde in Capricorn. It feels like something's a bit stuck in my gut. You know, I'm being very visceral here, but it is very visceral.
Yeah.
And it feels like something's going to get unknotted.
Mm.
You know, like, you know, it's still there. It's still in, pardon me, in Capricorn, but it's going to feel easier.
Mm.
And then in December, both of those planets, as we know, leave Capricorn, and we'll talk a lot about that when we get there.
Yeah.
So, you know, I remember early in the year, as I would be speaking and posting and writing newsletters and so on about what was happening, and people would say, well, when's it going to get better? And like, yeah, no. Hang on, where this is the whole year is big and challenging, and, you know, we'll go through different stages. As, you know, if you look back over how much has happened.
Yes, huge
On every front.
Yeah.
Every single front you can think of, it's huge. So, and it's fundamentally about historical and current power, control, and the abuse of power that's been going on this planet for a long time. It's gotten so deeply entrenched that it's taking a year like this literally to unblock it.
Yeah.
You know, to crack it open. It's needed to be this strong. It's been coming to this point for a while. It's been cracking since Pluto entered Capricorn in 2008. And I had this sense just the other day, I was just looking at it on a chart, and I got this immediate sense of December, when Jupiter and Saturn leave Capricorn finally, go into Aquarius, where they'll be all next year. It's like they leave Capricorn, go into Aquarius, look back to Pluto, who's still got a couple of years, and say, okay, Pluto, you clean it all up now. We're moving on to move forward into a new energy. You've still got some work to do here to clean this mess up. You know, and I thought, wow, that's a really kind of interesting way to see this. And it won't be till Pluto leaves Capricorn around 2023, 24, when Pluto finally comes out of Capricorn, that we will see how much has changed.
Yeah.
And what's actually been the outcome of this. I know I'm being a little dramatic, but I'm going to say it, of this almighty battle, for the hearts and souls of humanity and this world, this amazing, wonderful world we live in, and we don't know the outcome. I don't think, astrology can't predict the outcome, really. It can look at tendencies and likelihoods, but it really, every sign has a shadow side. So, it's like, it's up to us.
Yeah.
Aquarius is about the people. It's literally about the people.
Mm.
And it's the sign of humanity. So it's about humanity, and are we up for it? And so I think with Mars in Aries, it's like, okay, you up for it? It's almost like it's time to draw a sword, but what kind of sword are you drawing and how are you going to use it? Is it a sword of light? Is it a sword of spirit? Is it a sword of love? Is it a sword of truth? Or is it just a bludgeon that just wants to smash,
And maybe it's up to us to say, okay, bring it on, I'm ready.
Exactly.
To sort of, and that's where we face our fears, where we stand up and be counted, where we become the soldiers, I guess.
Yes.
And the conscientious citizens.
That's right.
And just take a stand and say, okay.
It's like, this is our world. It's not their world. It's our world.
Yes. And I was thinking the other day too, like with the authorities that have just gone a little bit, megalomania is just rampant. It's like, well, I think you've forgotten that you actually work for us. That we are your employers. It's just completely gone out of their head.
But we have given them so much power, like just, historically for generations. And there are still many people who would rather have someone tell them what to do without realizing that that's just, completely very kind of dangerous road to go down, actually, the abdication of all personal power and responsibility. So these are big issues. And it's for each and every one of us to really look at this and, find what is true in our own hearts. And, the heart and soul of humanity in each individual is really getting activated strongly. That's a good thing. It's had to happen.
I think,
we couldn't keep going. The world couldn't keep going the way it was. It was just spiraling down into an awful mess.
And I think as we evolve into what I would like to think is an advanced society or an advanced civilization, that we have to sort through every single thing like this at every single level.
Everything.
Make those decisions within ourselves to deserve to become citizens of that advanced society.
That's right. Every aspect of our life, political, scientific, medical, financial,
education,
all of it. Exactly. There isn't an issue that's not excluded from this, the whole thing, everything. I mean, this world and many, many mystics and people for so long have been, and from different cultures and traditions, have spoken about this incredible time on Earth, not only for the people, but for Earth herself, that we're coming into a new time, and it's going to be intense, dramatic, won't be easy, and it's not. It's a death and a birth, a death and a rebirth, and that's never easy. It's very challenging, but
it's a great planetary reset, isn't it?
Completely.
Yeah.
That's right. It's like, but it's up to us as to which word gets reset, that way or that way.
Yeah.
This is the crossroad. Yeah, we're going to go there. Yeah.
Well, we're in for another very interesting month through September 2020.
We are.
Yes, and then we'll be back for October, November and December.
I know.
That's going to be very interesting to have a closer look at that too, put under the microscope.
Yeah. It really is. And around November, December of every year, I always do a whole workshop on the transits of the year ahead. And I always do that. And I'm just thinking, I think my next online Zoom workshop, I think I'm going to do a 2020 review. Like, just, okay, let's stop, let's catch up,
In
let's
case
have a look.
we missed anything.
Let's sort of have a look at the whole story again, now that we're sort of 2/3 of the way through it. And sort of just step back a bit and look at the whole thing, and have a peek at the year ahead, you know, thinking, because I was thinking, okay, I want to do another one soon. What's kind of arising in me to do? Because it needs to be relevant, you know.
Do you think people need to be reminded of the year? No, not me. I'm out the door.
But actually, my intention would be to inject a really positive sense of, you know, like, you know, vision and hope and possibility about what it all represents, you know, and bring in, like, where we can be heading with all of this, you know, like,
Yeah.
take it forward.
Yeah.
That's very funny.
Oh, well, thanks again, Babula, for another great lunar explanation and commentary and social commentary. And yes.
A pleasure. And also, look, just quickly, of course, because my voice fades out as I move. Of course, in 2 weeks' time, on the 17th, we'll have the next new moon. So I just wanted to bring that in as well. That's just after Mars and Jupiter change direction. And that new moon is 25 degrees of Virgo. And we'll talk about that next time, because there's actually a lot going on with that new moon. And of course, the new moons are important because they start the new cycle.
Yeah, yeah.
But we're now at the peak of this current cycle. So go out and bathe in the moonlight, everybody. We've got clear skies here in Brisbane at the moment.
Yeah. Be
Gorgeous.
dreamy. Be artistic.
Pisces, that's right.
Listen to music.
That's right.
Paint. Sculpt.
Exactly. Get your guitar out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Thank you again. And thanks, everyone. We will see you again in another 2 weeks.
Thanks, Sheryl. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.